Well, hi everybody. We're live and we're doing it from home today because we haven't got Domenico with us. So there might be a bit of a Heath Robinson sort of show today as I put the messages up for us. So welcome to the show. I'll be putting a few of the hellos up while Jane will say some responses to people.
Who is Keith Robinson?
Heath Robinson. He made all these weird machines and things that never quite worked out.
Gosh.
So we should be all right. But we've hopefully you can all hear us. And we're going to say hello to everybody, but do please put your questions up because that will help us to guide us tonight, what we're going to talk about, where we're going to go. It's your chance to guide us. So if you get your questions in now, it's a good time to get it in straight away so that we can answer some of your questions. So I'm just going to say a few hellos. I'm going to put a few of the hellos up, Jane. You can read.
Oh my gosh, you'll just see it. Is it Andy?
Hello, Craig and Jane. Don't why, but I think we are the last humans on Earth. Hi from the Isle of Wight. Well, the Isle of Wight is likely to be the last place any ETs are going to go, or the end of the world's going to take place, I should think. Hi, Craig and Jane and Domenico. You're preempting us, Matthew, aren't you? Because we don't have Domenico with us tonight. But this is why we'd like your questions in. Then I can have a look through, see what questions you've asked us, and we can guide the show with that. But we're going to say a few hellos to you all.
Have a lovely evening tonight, and that's from Ian1212.
And do let us know if you've got any problems with the sound or anything. We should be all right tonight with the way we got it set up. So just saying our hellos again. Sally Pro, hi, Craig, Jane, and Domenico. Preempting us again here. Domenico's not with us tonight. It's me and Jane from home. So that's because I've some interesting ones here coming up already in the questions. Good evening from
the north of Sweden. Nice to be here again. Bye.
And this, on those of you on Facebook, you can put those little heart things up. We just initiated that recently. You can't do it on the YouTube channel, but you can definitely do it on the one on Facebook. Now, who do you think is going to come up next, Jane? Because I can see what's here.
Well, I'm looking straight at the screen.
Agility Bits.
I hope you had nice weather down there in Cornwall, Pat. It's certainly hot here.
Right the way all the other end of the world from Cornwall, we go to Dubai. So nice to see you in Dubai. Nice. We met some of our Arab friends today, didn't we? It was interesting. So hello to them. And good afternoon, says George, from wherever George comes from.
A good place, I hope.
Yeah. But it's afternoon. We know that much there.
Good evening, Craig and Jane. Are you able to give me some positive vibes? I've always got positive vibes, haven't I, Craig?
Good evening here from Laura on Facebook. I've just lost it all again. Oh, no. We got just a new one coming there.
It's quite hot here.
What have we got? Yeah, it's hot in this room. So just get a few hellos, Craig and Jane's from people.
Francois.
I might repeat a few here because I've just lost some screen.
Hi, Jane and Craig and Francois.
And Florida as well, says Blanche. So that's good all over the world again, folks. And the sound is good so far.
Good.
Thanks, Jason.
Jason's sound is good. Thank you.
That's handy to know because we're not quite sure where we're going with this tonight. It's a little bit more, like I say, just me and Jane. So just from my office.
Hi, Jane and Craig. You've done that one already.
I've done that one already, have I?
Yes.
How about X Julie X?
Haven't done that one. Hi from Suffolk.
See, it's good having Domenico with. Get your questions in, folks, though, please, because it's very helpful to us if you put your questions in and we can answer some of your questions. Any topic you like, we can do topical stuff, but we prefer to be really try to move at these sort of sessions a little bit towards the more spiritual questions because I think they're some of the most interesting ones sometimes. And so your spiritual experiences.
So you've got your own private darshan, so to speak, with us this evening.
Hi there from the USA.
Peace, love, understanding. Hi there from the USA.
Hello from Germany.
Yeah, very spiritual.
So we can't answer it. Me and Jane don't know everything. Like, for example, he says, what's our prediction in the Australian elections? You know, it's not really the topic for tonight.
Keep it spiritual.
Keep it spiritual tonight, I think. Everybody wants to know, for example, about cryptocurrencies. They're asking about. Again, it's not really your forte, is it? Yeah, but Rudy's just put a a booster on. You predicted there would be a crash in crypto, and there was. Yes, I know. Where do you see cryptocurrency going from here? Would there be a rebound, or is it doomed to fail? All I can say to that, Rudy, is I would start buying now, actually, because usually what bounces down comes back again. There has been a bit of a crash, but obviously one's got to be extremely careful where you buy with these type of things, because some of them I think will get wiped out. And I know there's been a few nasty ones recently. I think it was Luna. One of them got really wiped out badly. But you know, it's a gambling game, that type of thing. So sometimes this is kind of why, in a lot of respects, I think with our work, we kind of avoid anything to do with gambling, because it's a kind of a gambler's world out there, isn't it? So we've got everybody, some of our nanas coming in here, I see. We're getting loads joining us now.
Hi, everyone from Hampshire. Hi, Nana.
And how about Estonia?
Oh yeah, we've been there, haven't we?
Loved
Craig?
it, didn't we? It was really, we went to Tallinn, didn't we?
In we were on our way to Russia.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place. And actually Russia was very nice too. I enjoyed Russia, and I thought that, you know, it seems incredible that we're at war with Russia.
Because we went to Catherine the Great's palace.
Yeah, and some of the people we met, they were wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy, isn't it, the way it goes with the world out there. How much longer do we have to keep up with Sleepy Joe Biden? I've made a video about that already, about Sleepy Joe Biden. I think you should go and watch that one. Have you got any other thoughts on that, Jane?
Well, I haven't really thought about him. I'm too busy to think about Joe Biden.
Yeah, they're getting all questions about predictions type of things. I'm going to look for something
Keep it
spiritual.
Keep it real.
Well, there's one. Okay, June. Thank you. That's quite an interesting one, because, you know, we make the prediction videos, but I prefer with the prediction stuff, really. Right. We took some predictions
June
up tonight.
Says, how did you both meet? Well, I wasn't really looking. Wow, what happened?
That's quite a good topic. Have we covered? I think we've covered it before, but it's quite interesting, really, how it did work out. And
you had
where do we begin? I suppose it started.
Don't go too long.
Yeah, it can take a long time to describe this. I've written whole books on the things. But basically, Jane and I kind of met. I got interested in developing spirituality, sat in a circle with a really great medium called Peter Close, who died not that long ago. And before that, I just had a reading with a great medium called Doris Stokes. And she said to me, you're going to meet your future wife on the 6th of March. It didn't happen that 6th of March, but the 6th of March, some years later, after I developed as a medium and was working, demonstrating in spiritualist churches, they call it, giving messages to the people in the audience, and I came across a Jane in the audience. Now, Doris Stokes said I would meet someone called Jane Wallace.
And he just couldn't take his eyes off of me, could you?
The message I gave was for a Jane Wallace. Jane's name was actually Willis at the time, but the communicating spirit, Jane's grandmother, was called Wallace, wasn't she? Her
maiden name.
Her maiden name was Wallace. So I was given the name Wallace, go into a Willis, and actually, just as Doris Stokes predicted, we met at a spiritualist church, and it was the 6th of March.
Yeah, and a lot of coincidences there as well, because Doris Stokes' husband, John Stokes, used to come here and do contact healing with me. We were great friends, and he actually gave me a way to get married to Craig 35 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So we met in a spiritual church. So we had a spiritual journey both together. And Craig developed in a circle, and I was born like I was.
It's interesting how we, I think people are brought together sometimes, aren't they? I think not just people that become husband and wife. Sometimes I think the people in your circle, people who orbit your life, you'll know them when you meet them. Most of the people, if you think most of the people that we know that are close to us, there's been a kind of an immediate connection. Hasn't it?
It feels a blessing.
I'm sure it's
these people that come into your life as well,
spiritually intertwined somehow, and that we perhaps have been together in past lives. I think Jane and I believe we've been together in past lives, and some of our friends and most of our friends, we've I think, have had some connection somewhere in the past, including our families and things like that. There must have been other connections. Otherwise, because there's more of a connection between some people immediately. Yes, isn't there? Yeah. Immediately. And the best friends are like that too.
It's like today I bumped into two friends that we hadn't seen for 25 years. And first thing they said to me, Jane, you haven't changed a bit. You still look the same. Yeah,
I wasn't there, so they couldn't comment on me. So unfortunately.
They dare not, are they?
Yeah. I'm going to pick up a few of the questions now because
Okay.
people kind of like that. Whoops.
Hi, Boo.
There's people. Boo. Oh, we got Boo with us tonight. He might
on,
even
Boo
be up
Boo.
here. Go on, come up and say hello to everybody. Boo. They haven't seen up Boo for a little while, have we?
This
Let's
is Boo.
take that one off for a minute. There he is. He is the one that controls it all. Boo is our
Very small cat.
mentor, our guide, our guru, our familiar.
Oh, gosh.
So people are saying hello to Boo.
Yeah. Alex. Hi, Alex. Actually, I was talking about you earlier today, Alex, with Danielle, saying it's so strange that all your friends come to me for readings.
Yeah. Sheila saying, did Peter Close and Doris Stokes give you insights for ways to develop your own spiritual development? Well, yes, very much
For
so.
me.
Because that was my path, as it were, because I came through Doris Stokes to Peter Close, and Peter Close particularly, I sat in a circle with him. He was a sergeant in the police force, so he would demand from us evidence. So when we were giving links to the spirit, this is what I learned more than anything from him: is you've got to present solid evidence. Will it stand up in court? So from Peter's point of view, we couldn't sort of get away with some woolly sort of, oh, your grandmother's here and she loves you. It was, no, what's her name? How did she die? What was her character like? And same with Jane's training. We were pushed to always give a little bit more evidence. And that's what I think Peter Close taught me more than anything. And of course, he taught, in the circle, you're taught psychometry, you're taught how to read auras, you're taught how to tune into a person, give a bit of psychic connection, and then bam, the doors start to open and you start to give mediumistic communications, which is evidence from the spirit world. It was different for you though, Jane, wasn't it?
Yeah. Shall we go on for a few more, because then we're trying to get as many people as we can this evening. Okie dokie.
Bear with me, because I've got to find.
And also, being on a spiritual pathway isn't always easy for people developing or sitting in a circle. Some people tend to want to sort of run before they can walk, really, on the spiritual pathway, don't they, Craig?
Yeah, I think so. And I think Lita's, many of the things about this are all about love, really. I mean, I think the connections between people and why we connect with each other, even those people that might be difficult in our lives, there's still a love connection there of some sort that's got to be worked out. And Lita says, how does one learn to balance your own needs with being loving, compassionate and forgiving? This is where I struggle spiritually. So I think Lita's saying there that sometimes, she struggles, I suppose, because, sometimes you've got to give to the world and other times you've got to think of yourself. And I will say to that one, I don't know, you give your response in a sec, Jane, but I will say to that one, when you're dealing with life, no matter what you're dealing with in the situations in life, it's a bit like when you're on the aeroplane. And the woman on the aeroplane gets up and says, right, before you put the oxygen, when the oxygen masks come down in an emergency, before you put it on yourself, before you put it on your child, you must first put it on yourself. Your instinct will be you want to put it on your child, but put it on yourself first. Then you can put it on your child. And I think when it comes to these type of things, which I think is the essence of your question, Lita, is first and foremost, we must look after ourselves. And that's not selfish, because if we haven't looked after ourselves, we can't look after others.
And especially it's very important when you're on a spiritual medium, a psychic, clairvoyant, a seer, is that your health is very important. So you must look after your body, because your body is your temple. You can still be a loving, compassionate human being, but you've got to be in the right place, and you've got to be very peaceful inside and very quiet and still at times to reach out others. And you're not being selfish if you give yourself some time.
Absolutely. To answer Pamela's question here, love to book a reading with you guys, but in your website it looks like you're all fully booked. No, we're not. But there is coming up a new website coming up any day now. We've been sort of ironing out the last bits in it, and you'll be able to book Zoom readings on the site. As you can also, if you live within a close enough area to us in Southampton, near Eastleigh, near Southampton and Winchester, you can also get from London, say, to get to Jane as well. So private face-to-face reading.
Yeah,
so it is up there.
Mine's more face-to-face, because I like the person in front of me so I can see the auras and everything. And I don't do Zoom. I don't do Skype. I don't do telephone readings. I like the person in front of me.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we work it out. So Jane does the face-to-face and I do them remotely, because we couldn't both work from home face-to-face. We'd be crowded out here. So it works out practical that way. Do you believe in the dark night of the soul before becoming enlightened on a spiritual path?
Well, you can answer
that. Yes, I do. I think there's always this sort of idea, isn't there, of the darkness before the dawn. And I think when you go on a spiritual path, particularly if you're on, talking as a medium now, when you go on the mediumistic path, I think you do go through a pretty difficult period beforehand, even if you're very together person, and you know, you're not prone to depression, you're quite positive, but you'll still get challenges around you in the world, sometimes really major challenges. And I think this is necessary, because it's only through this we learn to empathize, we learn to deal with things. And I think even on a personal level, like before a person has kind of often before an epiphany, a person might go through a really tough position so that everything is challenged. And actually, really, it's the challenges in life that push us forward, isn't it? Really, it's the difficult things that make us strong.
A little bit of suffering is good for us, because sometimes you can identify another human being that's been through exactly the same as you have, and that's where compassion and love comes out. And that's to be enlightened, to me, is a big word. Enlightened. What does enlightened mean, Craig? Many people don't understand the word enlightened.
Yeah, I think enlightened is a massively misunderstood word, particularly today. Massively misunderstood. I mean, there's this idea of realization of the absolute, the ultimate, but there's more to it even than that, really, because what happens after enlightenment? You know, people often will have what we call a samadhi experience, or and would sort of go into the state of absolute bliss and understanding for us, the siddhis powers. But if you come out of it, if you were fully enlightened, you can spot an enlightened person because they'd have all the powers. They have the power of telepathy. They'd have the power of bilocation. They have the power of being able to disappear. They'd have the power of telepathy, of mediumship. They'd have all the powers. There's many of them, the siddhi powers. And I think often that is often a sign of somebody that has reached the final, what I would call the enlightened state. And before that, there's these other states which are like an awakening. And sometimes they can be overwhelming for a person, and they can mistake their path and think they've achieved something. But actually, there's no such thing as an achievement with these type of things whatsoever.
What about this man that was shut in a room and he completely disappeared after he had an enlightenment experience?
Oh, this is the one that I went to see in India you're talking about. Yes. I didn't see him, but he basically ended up, his devotees were coming around him, and he said, now it's my time to die. And he went into this room, and a sort of like just a room with a door on it. They opened the door, he went in it, no exits in or out, no windows, no nothing, and just turned into light and disappeared. And on certain times, they'll open that door and it'll just fill with light. These are the what I call the superhumans. These are the people that have achieved what I would call the enlightenment. You know, and it's you know, but all of us experience these incredible states sometimes it's like the oceanic feeling, you know, the feeling of the greatness of the universe, or suddenly feeling of being part and one with everything. And then there's the other states that can come, sometimes extremely deep meditation, in which one just lets go and you go into the peace and you are overwhelmed with light and bliss and infinity. I mean, those happens not just to a few people, that happens to many people. And I don't think everybody always expresses these things. And I'm sure many of you out there have had that beautiful inner explosion of light sometimes and come out and everything's clear. And then we fall from it again, and we got to get back to that state. And I think this is the whole process that we have in life, is getting back to that understanding of the divine intelligence that is also us. We are that divine intelligence and the bliss.
Next question.
Yes, please. So we've got a few sending hugs and love. Say a few hellos while I'm doing this.
Received them.
That's quite a nice question. Oh. Jane, have a go with that one.
Ireland. Some people have great energy about them, really positive energy. It feels so good to be around people filled with light. And I think it's important when you're spiritual to be with the right people in your life. Don't let negative people into your energy zone. And it's much better, like Craig and I have got some wonderful spiritual friends. friends from all different paths and countries of life. And it's nice to be surrounded by good spiritual people with good spiritual values.
I think it's good. And but isn't it true though? Sometimes it's hard getting the negative people out of your life. You know, it's rare to find the really beautiful spiritual people. And if you can meet and have those particularly in your family, it's lovely. But sometimes you're stuck with difficult energy people and people with quite a negative vibe all the time. And I think we've got to try, where possible, to always seek the company of those who are seeking spirituality.
Yes.
And I think, and by spirituality, I don't mean religion, I mean spirituality, wanting to become enlightened people, wanting to become better people. You know, they could be atheists and they can still be beautifully spiritual people. And I just think it's about finding good values, being a good person and mixing with the right people, and it will rub off on you and you will rub off on them, and it will become happy.
Because sometimes Craig and I have an awful lot of jealous people, but then you rise above that, and jealous people very much are trying to harm, that don't have a great understanding, perhaps a bit ignorant and envy, and you've got to do 10 times better, and you just try and get these negative people out of your life.
So how do you encourage people to change direction completely from negativity to positivity?
Well, be a positive person yourself is the key, isn't it? And still give out love and light. If you've got somebody that's bitter, twisted and hateful and that, I feel it's because that person's very insecure, and perhaps we don't know what's happened to them in their life. And the best thing, I think, with somebody that's like that is trying to put your arms around them and embrace them and send out a prayer. That's what I would do. I
think you've got to try to live you've got to try to live it, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to try to live as an example, even though you might fail endlessly at that. You know, you see me driving sometimes. You might fail badly at it sometimes. You know, but I think you've got to try to live by example, and I think you've got to be honest. Because if you can be honest, you've got to be honest in the world. But by doing that, you become honest with yourself. Because I think one of the biggest problems that people have with negativity in themselves is they're just not honest with themselves. They don't face up to the problems that they might. They don't face up to their weaknesses. They have this thing called the ego that gets in the way and stops you from personal realization.
Mm-hmm.
But Boo, I think, knows all the answers.
Yeah.
So do you want to have a comment on that, Jane? In any
I think
respect?
I've already spoken about it before you. Right, next question. Anita, did you mention the next pandemic may be coming soon? Did you, Craig?
Have mentioned that I think there would be another one. I don't necessarily think it's going to be around the corner.
There's always been viruses, hasn't there? Always been viruses, and we're always going to have viruses. It's something you've got to live with.
Yeah. I think with a lot of these things, keep your questions coming, guys, because we need a few new ones now, please, if you would. People are kind of agreeing with a lot of what we say here, which is nice. I've got hiccups. People love Boo, they're saying here.
Yeah, he's kissing me and distracting me.
People comment here from Alexandra. There's a saying, show me your company and I'll show you who you are. I mean, that's very true. You know, who you mix with, you know, you might profess this and that, but who do you mix with? It makes a big difference. And it says a lot about you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I always believe you've got to live according to.
It's an old saying, and if you're looking for trouble, then trouble comes to you, isn't there? And another saying my grandmother would say, what's in the bone comes out in the marrow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And it's like saying, if you stay grounded, how do you stay grounded completely of the light? I think actually for that one, Kelly, do you know what I'd say the easiest way to stay grounded is to keep an idea in your mind of simplicity. But with your spiritual thoughts, because I'm real bad at this because I'm always going off on intellectual thoughts about this, that, and the other. But actually, when it all comes down to it, the basic truths of the universe are very simple. It's simple, isn't it, really? And it's the simplicity that I think grounds us ultimately. Or else marry someone like Jane and then you'll be grounded anyway.
Yeah.
Well, make you.
The simple things in life are the best things, like going for a walk in the woods and sharing supper with friends and just being with lovely, beautiful people that you appreciate.
Yeah. topical one now from Ireland.
Prince William looks very stressed at the moment. He was very kind to visit a lady dying from cancer. It was in the Daily Mail. Yeah, I think, you know, he's very caring, like Princess Diana, like his mother. He looks like his mother. Well, I always feel that Harry's got features a bit like Charles, especially around the ears and round by his profile, around the side of his head. I expect they're under an awful lot of stress because they're worried about the Queen and they want everything to fall into place. But I believe the Queen had a very good day attending a horses
show.
Seem
to perk her up. They should keep those horses round her quite a lot, because I think there's going to be some bad times ahead for the Queen soon. But I mean, I think one of the things that William did there actually is probably preempting Harry, because that's the sort of thing Harry and Meghan would have thought, we can do that. You know, it's not a royal engagement. We can go and do that. And I'm being a bit cynical here, I think, but it wouldn't surprise me if Harry and that said, oh, right, we better get in there before Harry does, because they don't want them taking the limelight when they come over. I don't know.
I think that lady raised about £5 million through a cancer.
Oh, she was absolutely.
So her life hasn't been taken in vain or wasted, because she's gathered good karma by helping reaching out others. And sometimes these things work their way through karmically. It always seems to happen to the nice people, these cancers.
Sometimes they recover. One of our friends on Facebook, he's on there. He was diagnosed terminally ill, and started doing all sorts of good acts and writing books of positivity and things, wonderful stuff. And he got better, you know, and I think that's wonderful too. So, I mean, I think sometimes I think this is why we have so much suffering sometimes in the world, because it's only in adversity that the best in us comes out, isn't it? You know, a sword is forged in the fires and then with the hammer and anvil smashed until it's made into a sharp object. You know, I mean, that is a symbol, isn't it, of how the spirit is formed.
Yeah, usually children. There's a little boy I'm referring to that had cancer. He's come here for healing. I couldn't promise to cure him, but I could try and eliminate his pain. But these children are so wonderful because they have sort of about them an acceptance, really. Yeah. And they just want to do other things for others. Do you remember that little boy I'm talking about when at the garden park?
I know, yeah, incredible.
For you.
This is one of my predictions that Julie X has put up. I bet on Yvette Cooper being the next Labour leader. Gosh. Be careful, though. As soon as people start betting on my predictions, I find they go down the pan, because I had some other friends start saying, I'm betting on that. And it kind of blocked me terrible. So
didn't she have
we don't know.
But didn't she have, Vanette? Didn't she have some scandal related to her husband around her?
I can't remember.
I think
actually.
She did.
Yeah, I can't remember.
People don't forget.
But it's in a way, a lot of this is, you know, Jane and I, neither of us claim to be 100% with what we get with our predictions. You know, we just got to kind of get perhaps more than most people could ever get.
There, Craig. We're human with a remarkable gift to reach out and help others. So it's not doing predictions, people winning the lottery. It's not gambling predictions, who's going to win the Grand Derby or anything. It's on a personal high vibration, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Jane and I, we're trying with our lives, really. Okay, we're known very well for our mediumship and our psychic abilities, our predictive abilities and things. But really, what our real interest is the spiritual side of life, about becoming, you know, perhaps trying to be a good example in what the way we live. And I can't, not necessarily we are, but we try, and trying to sort of get people out there, you lot, which I know most of you are, thinking spiritually. And by spiritually, again, I'm not talking about religion and things. I'm just talking about, you know, what is a real human being? You know, what is a human being with when you take away all those horrible things, when you take away all the jealousies, the hatreds, the selfishness, the secretness, all those horrible things, and there's many, many, of course, anger and all the rest of it. Take that away, and what are we left with? The human spirit is a very, very beautiful thing. And it's very simple, like we were talking earlier on. We get us back to the simple values, which we're all lost, really. We've lost it for a long, long time, actually. But, you know, it's something we can find. One for you there, Jane, I think.
Jenny, do you think that the spirit world gives us warnings for a family death? The spirit world aren't going to predict death. That's in God's hands. Even a doctor won't predict death, at what time somebody's going to die. They can tell you that someone's organs are breaking down, but the spirit world can help us and prepare us, I believe, by, for example, they might turn around and say, you need to spend more time with your mother. or you need to be around at a certain place and that, but they're not going to predict death. They will come through to try and help you.
I don't think Eurovision will do very well this year, because I think everybody instead will be watching the Craig and Jane show.
Gosh, I thought Ukraine was
Ukraine is probably the highest
Ukraine.
tipped. I think there's pretty much nothing
Ukraine.
in it. Ukraine's going to come in first, probably UK second. I think UK will do quite well this time round somehow.
I think the last time that
so get you those that were betting on Yvette Cooper. Here's another one for you.
I think last time you were in song contest, you've done very well with Sandy Shaw, Puppet on a String.
Remember? Going back a long way. That is a dates, Jane. We don't even remember that. No, I don't remember that.
Don't remember
I'm too
what
young,
yesterday
I'm
was.
too young to remember that. Do you feel that the spirits of the Queen's deceased mother and sister are around her, and that Her Majesty feels their energy and feels stronger during her Jubilee?
I feel absolutely, and I feel she feels the spirit of her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, and a remarkable lady, the Queen, very remarkable. We've never signed Queen Victoria, and she holds all the family. I feel she represents Great Britain, and she's done a remarkable job. But she's bound to feel for her loved ones, because she's quite close to her sister and her mother and her father, and she must have her moments that she can feel them quite close to her. And before we know, she might have had dreams of them.
Yeah, I think the royal family have had a very interesting spiritual history to them. I mean, Queen Victoria was very well known for her interest in spiritualism with John Brown and the rest of it, and they used to hold seances in Buckingham Palace and particularly at Osborne House. So she was very interested in these things, and so at that time was all the royal families of Europe. The Russian royal families, the Romanovs were interested in it. Well, you got Rasputin and things, but they were also interested in the mediumship. The Dutch royal family, I believe, I think the Norwegian royal family at the time, all the Spanish royal family, where they were all through the royal families of Europe. There was a lot of interest, and I suppose if you've got famous grandfathers and grandmothers back through your family tree who are kings and queens of the world, you probably want, like anybody else, to get in touch with them. So I think that is quite interesting. Well, I'm sure she feels
even
that.
The Kaiser was interested in it in Germany, the Kaiser.
Yeah.
And I believe the Queen Mother used to like a good seance.
We saw a robin today. Could that be a deceased relative?
I'm a great believer. Robins, butterflies, and sometimes bees. I always believe they're messengers from God. And robins are messengers, aren't they? And I do believe that. And, I know my mother once saw a robin go in front of her when we went to Centre Parks, Craig, with the children. And 2 days after, her sister died.
Yeah. I think there's a strange thing with birds, actually. Birds seem to have some connection, some supernatural, spiritual connection that seems to make weird things happen.
A wonderful lady told me today, I won't tell you her name, that when she's going through a tough time and thought things would get better, she saw all these swallows circle around her. And I thought, gosh, that was a really incredible experience. And things did get better for her.
Careful with the table, because I think it's wobbling the camera a little bit, Jane. There's a comment for you. Jane, your eyes seem to be channeling or look very Egyptian tonight.
Like an Egyptian.
Other ones we got here. Sorry, guys, it's just me tonight. It's really helpful when we got Domenico in the background, but sometimes everybody has to get a rest. So bear with me. Just going to have a quick look for a few more. That's an interesting one as well. We've told a lot of these stories before.
Craig and Jane, how did Sir Barbara first come across you both? Me, it happened in my childhood, and I still don't know why or what value I would have put with you both. Can I see the value? Well, Sai Baba came to us in a dream, and I can remember Sai Baba came to me and showed me his ashram in pink and blue. I've never been there, and said, you come first row Thursday, and that's precisely what happened. Unknown to me, Craig had booked for us to go to the ashram and to go to India, and I was in awe of this pink and blue temple building. And when you go there and you queue up for darshan, you draw these straws, and I drew a straw, and I was told to go in the front row, and that's when Swami passed, and he's been with us in many occasions, many dreams, and even my younger daughter, when she was very young, actually saw Sai Baba walk across the London.
I know a lot of people think Sai Baba is something he's not, but I mean, that's up to you. You have to find your own path with
That's
this.
right,
But
absolutely.
I mean, the dreams and things like that. I had my first experience of him was a visionary experience quite young, but I'm putting that aside. I then, when I was new Jane, I had a dream of this man with fuzzy hair and orange robes, and then soon after we met some people who knew about Sai Baba, and I said, oh yes, that's the man I dreamed about. I never knew who he was, because he was so obvious. He wore this sort of orange. He had fuzzy Jimi Hendrix hair. I'd never seen a photo of him or heard about him, and he was taking me through into a garage in which we were fixing cars. And the Indian person said, oh, you had a dream of Sai Baba. This is incredible. I said, well, is that him? Is that who you're talking about? Why a garage? He says, when he takes you into your workshop, it means he's helping you. He's helping you to work on you. He's help in his workshop, as it were. He's going to give you some tests and things. So I had a dream about him before I'd even seen him. And this is common. This is common with lots of people.
And I can remember Craig saying to me once, what would you like for Christmas? Well, I can look at the moon, I can look at the stars and the sun. I said, well, I would like an oil painting of Swami. And Craig commissioned an Indian chap in Puttaparthi, and Swami, Sai Baba, actually came down and printed his hand in that painting, didn't he, Craig?
Yeah.
And I've got it in my spiritual room.
People picking up on some of the predictions I've made here, I think, about China invading Taiwan. I think it still might happen, There's a build-up, actually, at the moment. I predicted earlier in the year that there's going to be an invasion of Taiwan. And I know they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by doing that, because they need the trade, And like you say here, Jewel, and I mean, that's true. But, often predictions go against logic. And even though I think there's going to be a bit of big shake-up in the Chinese at the top.
President Ping, definitely.
Because I see him being changed and someone worse coming in. Yeah. And as we already said, we feel Putin's going to be out of power very soon, possibly through his illness, but more likely through a combination of illness and a coup. So we're going to see a lot of big changes at the top. We see... It's Chi. I can't remember. Isn't that a P or whatever his name is?
Ping.
I talk about generals. I always forget his name. But I think that we will see the Chinese taking a
and the
hit
Chinese.
They won't get away with it.
No, they know that this will happen, and it will happen. So China will invade Taiwan, and backlash against the Russians, China.
Yeah, they won't get away with it. They won't be marching down the streets of Taiwan, I feel. But I do feel that there's going to be conflict there, and particularly naval conflict. That's where I'm seeing things. Submarines, I feel. Someone asking a personal question said we can't do personal. Well, we can't do those on screen, because otherwise it's back and forth. We'd have to do that video link with people. We might do that.
Have a reading.
Yeah, we can do those things with Zoom, but not with this type of way of working.
Craig.
Yeah, just a few people saying hellos and things.
Jarrow, greetings to my favourite mystics. They are beautiful couple greetings. Blessings on you, divine blessings.
Did we ever meet Ed and Lorraine Warren?
No.
We met Ed Begley. He was fun. I don't know if you know him. He's quite often on some of the program. What's the program we're watching at the moment?
He was on 6 Foot Under.
Yeah, but we saw him in something recently, wasn't he?
And we've actually been to his house, actually, because when we went to Hollywood and Beverly Hills, we actually invited everybody wanted us to know, and they were all trying to take us out to restaurants, and he was so sick of food that I ended up pushing all food underneath lettuce leaves.
Yeah, he was a nice man, and we met quite a lot of people on that trip to America, didn't we? It'd be lovely to go there again, but it's such a haul.
Tiring.
Yeah, someone's just picking up on the Sai Baba stuff again there. If you want to sound of that one.
Sai Baba came in a vivid vision to me, picked me up and said, neither should exist in the past or the future. You always live in the now. Well, it depends, very much depends on what Swami says, really, because the fellow that owned the Hard Rock Cafe, had love all and serve all. And there's many people that have had dreams. He's actually had dreams and everything. I've seen Sai Baba sit in my spiritual room, change his robes from orange to yellow, and there's someone saying, oh no, you didn't wear that. And he did wear different coloured robes and long silk ones, and he used to sort of just sit there and just laugh and carry on, do your good spiritual work, carry on.
Yeah. So Annette's saying, I've had a hard time meditating. Do you have any suggestions? Well, there's loads and loads of techniques out there. They all take you to the same place. And you've got to think, what am I aiming for with meditation? There's lots of different ways we could describe meditation. But one of the things, I suppose, is peacefulness, isn't it? It's being that state where thought is no longer dominating you. Now, there's ways to reduce those thoughts. There's all the techniques like candle gazing, but watching the breath, mantras. All the techniques as such are ways to take your attention, hold your attention, because most of our attention is all over the place. So the way into meditation is, first of all, you've got to get your focus. You've got to get your concentration. This is what is taught. And these what most of the techniques you'll read about are about fixing the concentration to one pointed concentration, so bringing the mind back, and that's where the work comes in. And then once the mind gets fixed, then the quietude comes. So you can use techniques, and there's loads of them out there. It'll take multiple videos to explain all those to you. But really, think what you're aiming for. Think you're looking for that peace that lies behind all this great stream of thoughts. And when you first start meditating, it feels like your brain is speeding up. But actually, what's happening is you're seeing just how quick your brain is and how many thoughts are jamming in. So I would suggest the best thing is just to watch the thoughts. Watch a thought come in, observe it, try not to engage in it, just watch it, observe it. You can deal with all the issues it brings up later. Watch it, observe it, and then most importantly, let it go. Another thought comes out, put your full attention on it, let it build up, let it go. You can do it. I do it with visual imagery. So a picture comes up in my mind because I'm a very visual thinker. I look at it, I see it in all three dimensions. I see it in 3 dimensions. I see it from above, I see it from above or below, and so on. I see it turning and things like that, and then poof, I let it disappear again. So you hold the attention, let the attention go. Hold the attention, let the attention go. That's just one simple technique. I'll perhaps do some things like that later on the Patron site sometime.
Also on YouTube, under Psychic Medium Jane Hamilton Parker, I have a meditation mantra that I can take you through there. So if you want to go and have a look on YouTube, Jane Hamilton Parker, go in the meditation section and it will help you. There'll be Indian music and I will talk you through that meditation state.
Vilma, who's presumably in Finland, is saying what will happen in Finland. We Finns are a little bit stressed because of Russia.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, you've got the long border with Russia more than anybody else. But the Finns have also got a really brilliant army. And I think Putin would be ill-advised and would not succeed in trying to do anything to Finland prior to you joining NATO. So my thoughts are with that I think Finland will become stronger through all this. Well, and I hope I think Finland will be first into NATO. I hope Sweden follows closely behind. I get the feeling they're both talking about this now, but I think Finland's going to be in quite quick. I think Scandinavia generally will become much stronger militarily, actually. And I think Norway, Sweden, Finland, maybe Denmark as well, will all sort of become a strong force working collectively.
I believe Norway army is very strong.
Yeah. So all of these forces, I think you're going to be in a stronger position. And I know it must be very, very stressful because you're seeing what's going on in Ukraine, and everybody all along the border with Russia is thinking, where next? Like with the people there from Tallinn earlier on.
Not much longer.
Worrying times for you all.
Not much longer.
But I think we're going to see. It's not going to be like Jane says. I don't think it's going to go on quite as long as people fear.
I think they had a shock, the Russians.
Yeah, and their resources must be just logically thinking, their resources must be running a bit thin with all this too. Really, so I think I wouldn't over worry with it. Let's just back onto that meditation theme again.
Keep answering different ones.
Yeah, I need different questions.
You're going over the same thing all the time.
We need some more questions for you guys because we're getting people responding to other things that have been seen on the screen already. Okay, we'll start going to some of the more political type
Jason.
stuff now then. But people believe everything in the media too easily and cannot tell they are being rabble-roused for political reasons.
Well, it's always been there, hasn't it? It's nothing new, is it?
You've got to think who controls the media, really, when you look at these things, because all around the world, a handful of people really control the media. I mean, I get very, very disappointed, for example, in the BBC, particularly because I feel it's
Be careful what you
so
say.
middle of the road with what it says. It's so sanitized. You never get the real truth. And I've said this before. I like listening to the Australian channels because they say it as it is, you know, and they're less PC and woke than we are in the West. And I worry about those things because I think, you know, I mean, everybody sort of talks about wokeism and things and all that type of thing at the moment. I think that's a very, very, very dangerous movement, personally, because this is politically inspired. It all sounds very humanitarian and it all sounds very fair, and we're all being nice human beings to one another. But actually, there's a very strong political heavy left-wing agenda behind this. And we don't really want to be too left-wing. We don't want to be too right-wing. We want to find our way somewhere in the middle. And the problem is the media is usually forced by one side or the other, one extreme or the other. You know, you've got in places in Russia, you've got complete control, stamped down of the media. And look what happens there. Here in the West, you know, we've got, you know, for example, we can't demonstrate mediumship on mainstream television. You know, you're not allowed to. There's still got rules that say you can't demonstrate. All through our lives, we would put program ideas to the television. They say, great, yeah, we'll have the Craig and Jane show on TV and we'll do all this. And then they say, oh, just a minute, it says in the rules there we can't show mediumship. And they showed it on some of the minor channels here, but they had a whole team of lawyers fighting the whole time for it. So it's not as easy. So I think, you know, who's to say that you can put gambling on television? We went and saw a movie. We went and saw Blue Velvet the other night. Shocking stuff. You know, that can all be shown, but mediumship can't.
And also,
so it makes
on
you
one
wonder
of the
who
TV
makes these
programs,
rules.
I believe they got a dating thing where they're showing people naked, and
Great.
and the screen suddenly goes from the feet upwards and upwards. Ghastly.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a pretty horrible thing, the way the media is being
question.
twisted, and we are not getting the truth in the media. I think that's something for one of my sort of coffees
Right.
with Craig's, actually,
Yeah.
more than here.
Catherine, are there many physical mediums around now? No, there's not, because you'll suddenly find these physical mediums that can't really do it are suddenly trance mediums. There was a really famous physical medium, Gordon Higginson, and then I'm going right back in the Victorian times. Webster, was it Webster that could levitate and produce things?
D.D. Home,
yeah,
incredible.
And Duncan, what was her surname?
Helen Duncan.
Helen Duncan. Actually, ectoplasm coming out from her solar plexus here. You could actually feel it and put your hand through it. And all different, but sometimes in the Victorian times they used to cheat and put cheesecloth in.
But she's saying, actually, isn't she, are there many physical mediums around now?
No.
And me and Jane have been to see some physical mediums, and we were absolutely shocked rigid by the fraudery of it. I mean, it was absolute obvious fraud to me, what I saw. I won't name the names, but the people who do this, you've got to be so careful. I could see how they were doing it. I could work out what they were doing, because we went to one particular one and everybody's frisked so that they got no metal on them. Okay, actually, it's the medium that shouldn't have the metal, not the people in the audience,
because they get
because they can get burnt. So nowadays we could have had a mobile phone on us to record it, or we could have had a bit of infrared camera, so we could, you know, those infrared cameras, those things you stick on the eyes that the troops wear to see in the dark and things. Well, that would be fine, wouldn't it? Because we could see if anybody was walking around the room. And then at the last minute, just when everybody's being frisked and everybody's in, 3 of the mediums circle arrive and say, "Oh, isn't that wonderful? 3 of the circle arrive. Let's sit you together because it will give more strength." So you've got 3 people sat together, or everybody holding hands so that nobody can cheat. And of course, if you've got 3 together and the 1, 2 in the middle, the other 2 just let go of the person, and one person can up and do all the shebang going. And they were sort of, and we were getting things floating around the room and that, but it was someone walking around. It was pretty obvious. I could see how it was being done, and the evidence that was given was shocking. There was a group of poor Indian people that had come to this particular session, and
the
they were
sun.
desperate to get to the sun. And someone had paid a lot of money because it was expensive. It was 100 odd quid or something, wasn't it, per person, and paid a lot of money to get his family there. And one of them got a message, and I thought that message is just a load of codswallop, no evidence, no proof. So these guys can do full physical mediumship, and they can't give a simple bit of spirit evidence. So you've got, you know, physical mediumship has always been unfortunate. It's real. It's real. It can happen. But I don't know of anybody today who is out there that, but I've witnessed. I mean, only that what I can say what I've witnessed. I can't say there must be some out there somewhere. I really hope to God there is. But I would have said that the physical mediumship really should not be for the public. It should be for other mediums, to help other mediums develop their faith in what they do. And I think if that happened, that would help the mediums who are the foot soldiers out there doing mental mediumship and the rest of it, help them think, oh, the wonders of spirit, and help us to become even more better mediums.
Physical medium should be able to produce an apport, not throwing coins or knives, and you should actually see that happening, not something painted with a luminous paint like a trumpet going around.
But if it was just for the mediums, say, like Gordon Higginson was a brilliant medium, who I'm sure his physical mediumship was absolutely bang on. But if it was just for the mediums, there would be less of this temptation for big money to be exchanged and taken advantage of the vulnerable, because it would only be for the other mediums, and the other mediums would see through it if it was fake, you know. So that's where I think that's where it goes wrong. And I think physical mediumship is unfortunately right the way through being abused by so many, and it's a great shame, because when other mediums cheat, I mean, it makes all of us mediums look as if we're all cheats. I feel like sometimes I've seen these people, I thought, oh, why am I being a medium or a psychic when I'm associated with people like that?
When you're a medium, you're dedicated service and dedicated your life to help others. And how else can you live? So unfortunately, we have to charge at times, but then you get other people that are going in spiritualist churches, you know where I'm going with this, Craig, and they suddenly might criticize us and say, oh, rip-offs and all this, and they know nothing about us, then even met us, have they?
Oh God, with
jealousy.
Sadly, it's with all this type of powers and things. I mean, the thing you should learn more than anything when you develop these things is humility with it, and modesty. Really, you have to. I mean, you obviously have to have confidence, and you say, I'm brilliant, you know, and things like that on the stage you might do, you know, but people would know that you're saying that as a kind of a bit of silliness. But in your heart, you really do have to be modest. But you can see so many that sort of develop the city powers, or some of them, or even to a small extent sometimes, and then think they're God's gift to us all. And you know, we were warned in the ancient teachings of Patanjali that, you know, you've got to these gifts come to, and they can be a distraction from the enlightenment if you allow the ego to get hooked onto them. You know, these gifts come naturally, actually, if you seek the light.
Now, Lisa's saying, do you think that police use psychic mediums to solve crimes more regularly now? Well, we have been involved with police work, and it's usually undercover police that come. And what I do is lay maps, and I dowse, and they turn the maps the other way, and I put a cross, and I've actually found, well, one particular one I'm thinking of, the boy's foot. That's all we can find of his remains and that, because the police will try that, but it's got to be not somebody that's looking for sensationalism. It's to actually help the family. And you don't usually take money for doing that, because you want to help the family and that. But once you get involved in that police work and that, it takes over your whole life, because the parents are so desperate that they keep contacting you. And because in your physical form, you can only do so much, can't you, Craig?
Yeah, I'm not so sure the English police do much with it. I mean, we've had some experience with it, like Jane said there, but it's usually not done officially. You know, they don't do much officially. The Americans are much more into it. I had a police officer from Florida ring me once on a reading, actually, to find out information, you know, and so I thought, well, that was so unusual to be able to give a reading like that.
I know who was a good medium doing that. Nella Jones. She's passed the higher life now. She used to be very much involved with police work, because she'd pick up her axe and she would know if that was the Ripper.
I don't think she did as much as she claimed, though. But
well,
then
I don't know. You don't know, do you?
Belladonna Art of Healing saying, my daughter is a medium. It came out of nowhere when she was 26. A gift she didn't want. She can also x-ray people, and I think by that you see through people, I guess, in sort of spiritually see people, or even see inside the body of a person, which is also another thing that can happen with this second sight, as it were. And I think that in a way, Belladonna, that's a kind of poisonous. In a way, it's kind of proof of it, I think, because sometimes I didn't want the spiritual gift. I resisted it massively because I thought, well, this is going to get in the way of everything I'm planning to do in life. And when it comes, it comes, and you have the choice to turn away from it, but it's very difficult. And I do think it tends to come naturally, spontaneously.
And I think this girl's very true, because she's stating a gift that she didn't want, and you know that's a making of a very good medium. And she can see through people, as Belladonna says. And I feel, you know, a gift comes when it's meant to come from past life, past incarnations, and to use it for the power of good.
Yeah. A long time ago, you predicted meningitis outbreak in kids. Maybe it was actually the hepatitis in children. It could well have been. I thought that at the time when I saw it come up, because I remember putting that prediction up some while ago. And yeah, unfortunately, this hepatitis thing is very odd, isn't it? It seems to be coming out of nowhere, and a very odd illness, hepatitis, really, because it's something we thought we got over. And I think maybe in the future, you know, we might have to come back again against many of the illnesses that we think we've overcome.
Yeah. There's probably lots of illnesses coming in the 21st century, because the foods are changing, artificial foods, I call them. The diets are changing, and the way people are living in the material world.
And we live so close together, in such close proximity. So any illnesses that we get can easily and quickly spread.
I know you're picking out questions.
Well, I'm only trying to find one or two that we can put up that are practical. Do you feel we are being manipulated to have the COVID vaccines? I'm due my 4th because I'm vulnerable, but sometimes something inside me says no.
Well, I've known some people not to have any of these vaccinations, and they've come, and young people I'm talking about too, not older people, and they become ill.
Yeah, there definitely are some signs that certain people do seem to respond badly. I mean,
So
we were
system.
100% fine. We had it, and I think I thought about this.
I haven't had COVID.
No, I've had COVID, but I've also had the jabs as well. That's where my cough was for a while. But the jab, I think you've got to make a choice between, you know, a choice of perhaps two evils in some respect. You can either face, you know, perhaps the lesser forms of the variants that are going around, which you're going to get it anyway. It's going to be very hard to not have had some antibodies in your system of some sort with the amount that's been going around.
And it depends on your blood group too, of course.
And I think type A blood group people seem to suffer more than others. I know we got friends that have got long-term COVID.
Rhesus negative O, and I haven't had.
But is it a conspiracy? I think the actual COVID itself came out of a lab that was doing the wrong things in China, and that was covered up, and China should pay the price for that and the world damages done. It's pleased to always take our money, but you know, could it not pay the compensation to the world for the terrible damages done? Maybe even if the advanced cultures say no, couldn't that money go into help Africa properly, not tricking them into cheap loans and things? But I think it had a very dangerous agenda, and I think we will find out one day that it was made. I think the response to try to fight against it with the COVID vaccines is genuine. I don't think we've been given some fake vaccine, but I do think the vaccines sometimes, perhaps we can only find that in due course, may have side effects. But you know, in the end, we had to make a decision: do you have it or not? And I thought, well, I think it's better to take a chance on the vaccine rather than take a chance on something that's been let out of a Chinese lab. And I think people did their best. And I would really, actually, I know people hate me saying this, but I would actually advise you who haven't had it, have it, because I think, you know, it's a choice of a number of evils, really. So we're coming to the end now. So I'm going to say to people that we thank you for joining us. If you're new to the channel, do please click the little bell in the corner of the screen, because if you've seen this and you come on after we've gone live, have a click of the screen and you'll be able to get the bell, and click it twice so that you get the updates. And if you get the updates, you'll know every time we go live. And those of you that come here regularly know about patrons, and this is those of you that have been helping us. So we had a few joiners. I'll just say hello and thank you to those ones that have joined today, because I saw a few of you new ones join today. So hi guys. If you become a patron, if you have a look in the description below of the video, you'll see the link for that, and you can become a patron. Basically, it means you give a small amount. You can be a peanuts really, but that all helps, because many drops make an ocean, and that helps us keep this channel going. But more importantly, it also helps with the studio we're working on. Is also helping with our aims to build a spiritual center and the other spiritual work we're trying to do. It makes life a lot easier. We don't take anything from this. We're doing this show tonight, we're not doing it for profit. We're doing it in order to help the patron side of the site, and if you can do that, it will help us a great deal.
Remember the Concord Club, Craig.
And we've got coming up the Concord Club. We're going to be doing a demonstration there. Again, this is something Jane and I do. We go out there just to raise money. We'll be doing a number of these, so we'll announce them every now and again. We do demonstrations of mediumship, and we do it just to help.
And the date is May the 26th. It starts at 7:30. Be there at 7. Sit down at 7:30, and it's at the Concord Club, which is in Eastleigh. Tickets are available now. I believe there's quite a few that have gone. So we look forward to meeting all of you.
So thanks for joining us again. We'll see you soon. We'll be back in the studio next week with luck. See you soon.
Ciao.
Bye for now.
Bye.